Good afternoon everyone. I am Sunita Oram, lecturer in Government Polytechnic Bhubaneswar. Today we are going to start a video lecture on the course Energy Conversion 1, which is the theory 1 of the syllabus Electrical Engineering of 4th semester. Okay. So, energy conversion, the name that energy conversion suggests, this is the process where the change in energy from one form to another form is obtained, such as energy may be convert from electrical energy to mechanical energy, or mechanical energy to electrical energy, or it may be convert from light energy to heat energy, or from thermal energy to work energy. So, in this course Energy Conversion 1, today we will start our first chapter, that is DC generator. So, DC generator, this is the in-out view of DC generator. So, first introduction of DC generator. So, what do you mean by DC generator? DC generator is an electrical machine which convert mechanical power energy to electrical energy. So, this is the mechanical energy given to the generator, that is input to the generator, it converts mechanical energy to electrical energy. Okay. Then coming to the working principle of DC generator. So, basically the DC generator works on the principle of dynamically induced EMF, that is electromotive force. So, what is the dynamically induced EMF? That is, the statement is that whenever a conductor cuts the magnetic flux, a dynamically induced EMF is induced according to Faraday law of electromagnetic inductions. And due to this EMF, current is flow in the circuit if the circuit is closed. So, this EMF, the direction of this EMF is given by Fleming right hand rule. So, what is right hand rule? So, right hand rule, the statement is like that: the thumb, forefinger and middle finger of the right hands are stretched perpendicular to each other, and if the thumb represents the direction of movement of conductor, forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field, then the middle finger gives you the direction of induced EMF. So, here the pictorial form of right hand rule, this is thumb, index finger, middle finger. If we stretch our right hand, thumb, forefinger and middle finger perpendicular to each other, then this thumb represents the motion of conductor, this forefinger gives the direction of magnetic field, and this middle finger gives us the direction of current, that is induced EMF. So, coming to the next slide, simple loop generator. So, before going to simple loop generator, first we will know how the EMF is induced in the loop. So, we will consider a simple loop, where consider a simple loop ABCD which is rotating in clockwise direction in a uniform magnetic field. As this coil or as this loop rotates, the flux linking to the coil side A and B also changes continuously. So, as the flux linkage changes, so EMF induced in these coil sides also changes. Okay. So, when the loop is in position 1, the EMF generated in the loop will be 0, because this coil side AB and CD are not cutting any flux, because the coil side AB and CD are parallel to the lines of flux. So, in that case the EMF generated in the loop will be 0, which is shown here. At point 1 the EMF is 0, and when the loop is rotated and at position 2, in that case coil side moving at an angle. So, at that point the conductor cuts some magnetic lines of flux. So, in that case some EMF are generated which is indicated by 2. This 2 gives some small amount of EMF. Okay. So, at position 2, at position 3, the coil side AB and CD both are at right angle to the lines of flux. So, at that time maximum flux are cut by the conductor. So, in that case maximum EMF is generated which is given at point 3, that is the maximum EMF which is induced in the loop. Similarly, at position 4, the EMF is less because it is less than 90 degree. That means the lines of flux and angle between the lines of flux and the coil sides are less than 90 degree. So, at that case the EMF induced is less as compared to point 3. So, which is shown in the figure at point 4. So, at point 5 same, at point 5 there is no flux, there is no EMF because there is no flux cut by the conductor. So, in that case at point 5 the EMF is 0. So, this is for positive half cycle. At point 6 the coil side move under opposite polarity. So, in that case the EMF is maximum in the reverse direction at point 7. At point 7 the EMF will be maximum in the reverse direction. So, this is for negative half cycle and for 1 to 5 is for positive half cycle. So, this cycle repeats for each revolution of the coil. Okay. So, EMF generated in the loop is alternating one, but we want direct voltage. So, this direct voltage can be this alternating voltage can be converted to direct voltage by using a commutator. So, this commutator is also known as mechanical rectifier. So, that I have already said, the EMF generated in the loop is alternating. So, this alternating voltage can be converted to direct voltage by using a device called commutator. So, this commutator is called mechanical rectifier. So, by using this commutator we can convert alternating voltage into direct voltage. So, the work of commutator first we will know. Here the coil side AB is under north pole and coil side CD is under south pole, and this commutator connects the coil side AB under south pole to positive brush and under north pole to negative brush. Okay. And the coil segment C1, the commutator segment C1 connect coil side AB to the point P of the load resistor R. Similarly, the commutator segment C2 connect coil side CD to the point Q of the load resistor R. So, the current flow from P to Q. So, after one revolution or after negative half cycle, after 180 degree revolution, the coil side AB is under south pole and the coil side CD is under north pole. Here also the commutator segment C1 is under AB and commutator segment C2 is under CD. Okay. So, the coil side AB connects point Q of the load resistors and the coil side CD connects the point P of the load resistor R. Here also the current flow from P to Q, Q to P, current flow from Q to P. That means, in the previous case, positive half cycle, there is also flowing of current from Q to P, and after 180 degree revolution, the current is also flowing from Q to P. That means, that is current is flowing in unidirections. So, by using the commutator, we get the unidirectional flow of current. So the alternating voltage that will be generated in the loop can be converted to what? Direct voltage by using commutator, and the purpose of this brush is to collect the current from the rotating parts or rotating loops to the external circuit. So this is our direct voltage, but this is not our steady voltage, this is our pulsating direct voltage. This pulsating direct voltage, from this pulsating direct voltage we can get steady direct voltage by using a large number of coils connected in series. So this is all about the principle of DC generator. So next, coming to the parts of DC generator. So this is the different parts of DC generators. In the subsequent slides we can elaborately discuss the individual parts. So yoke is the frame, or this is the outer part of the machines. The purpose of the yoke is to protect the machines from the dust or moisture, and it also provides the mechanical support for the machine or pole, and it also provides the path for the flux. Second is our pole. So pole, this is the pictorial view of pole, and this is the pictorial view of yoke. So pole carry the magnetic field, pole carry the field winding, and it is in the rectangular cross sectional type. The core are laminated to reduce our eddy current loss. Next, pole shoes. So pole shoe gives two purposes. It reduces the reluctance of the magnetic path. So next, coming to the slide, that is parts of DC generator. So DC generator, it has many parts, that is shaft, pole core, interpole, frame or yoke, pole shoe, armature conductor, commutator and field windings. So in the subsequent slide we will go each parts. Yoke is the main part of the DC machine, that is the frame. So it supports the machine from dust or moisture. It is the iron body, and it also provides the path for magnetic flux. Second is our pole core. So this is the picture of the pole core, and this is the pole shoe. So pole core, that it will carry field windings. So it is laminated to reduce eddy current losses, and it is fitted on the yoke. Next, pole shoes. Pole shoes serve the two purposes. First, it reduces the reluctance of the magnetic path because it spread out the flux in the air gap. Second, the pole shoe support the exciting coils or magnet field coils. Next, field windings. Field windings, that is, it is a set of coil and the steady current flow through this winding to produce magnetic field. Next is our armature. So armature, this is the rotating part of the DC machine, or it is called the heart of the DC machines. So this is armature core is the rotor of a DC machine. It is cylindrical in shape. So armature core is laminated and with silicon steel disc, and it is used to reduce eddy current because it is laminated. Armature core of a DC machine serve the two purposes. It houses the conductor in its slots and it provides the easy path for the magnetic flux. So next, commutator. I have already said commutator converts AC or alternating voltage to direct voltage. So here commutator is mounted on the armature shaft and it converts AC into DC. Next is your brush. Brush connect the commutator to the external circuit, and the shaft is the used for transfer mechanical power from or to the machines. The rotating parts like armature core, commutator are mounted on the shaft. So, here these are the parts of the DC machines or DC generator. DC generators and DC motors, the parts are same. Next, armature winding terminology. First, we know the term of armature windings. First, conductor. What is conductor? So, individual length of wire lying in the magnetic field is called conductor. So, the wire which is lying in the magnetic field is called conductor. Next, turn. So, turn, what do you mean by turn? The turn means when the two conductors lying in the magnetic field are connected in series, so that EMF in them help each other to resultant EMF becomes double to that of the one conductor is called turn. Second, coil. So, coil, when one or more turns connected in series and two ends of it are connected to the adjacent commutator segment, then it is called coil. Next, pole pitch. So, pole pitch is defined as the number of armature conductors per pole, that is Z by P. Pole pitch equal to Z by P, where Z is the total number of armature conductor and P is the total number of pole. Next, back pitch. So, back pitch is defined as the number of armature conductors between the last and the first conductor of the coil. So, between the last and first conductor of the coil, the distance between last and first conductor of the coil is called back pitch. So, this is the first end of one coil and this is the last end of one coil. So, the distance between first end and last end is called back pitch. Front pitch. Front pitch is defined as the distance in terms of armature conductor between the second conductor of one coil and the first conductor of the next coil. That means front pitch, front pitch. This is the first coil and this one is the second coil. So, first conductor of the second coil and the last conductor of the first coil. This is one coil, this is the first conductor of one coil and this is the second conductor of one coil. This is the first conductor of second coil, this is the second conductor of second coil. So, distance between first conductor of second coil and the second conductor of first coil is called front pitch. Next, resultant pitch. Resultant pitch is the number of armature conductor between the beginning of one coil and the beginning of next coil, and it is denoted by R. So, beginning of one coil and beginning of next coil. So, this is one coil, this is another coil. So, beginning of one coil is this one and beginning of another coil is this one. So, distance between the beginning of one coil to the beginning of next coil is called resultant pitch. This is resultant pitch denoted as YR. Next, commutator pitch. So, commutator pitch is the distance between two commutator segments with which two ends of same armature coil are connected. It is denoted as YC. So, this is the commutator pitch. This is the commutator segments. This is your commutator pitch YC. This is all about the armature winding terminology. Next, come to the armature winding of a DC machines. So, depending upon the winding connections, armature windings of a DC machines are of two types, that is lap binding and wave binding. So, lap binding lap binding, here the finishing end of one coil is connected to the commutator segment and the starting end of another coil is connected to the same commutator segment. So, in lap binding, the finishing end of one coil is connected to the commutator segment and the starting end of another coil is connected to the same commutator segment in lap binding. So, here this winding is known as lap binding because the side of the coils are overlap each other. So, that is why it is known as lap bindings. Next is wave binding. So, in wave binding, the coil carrying currents in one direction are connected in series and carrying currents in opposite direction are connected in another circuit, series circuit. So, here in wave binding there are two parallel paths, but in lap bindings the parallel paths is equal to the number of poles. So, what is the difference between lap binding and wave binding? So, in lap bindings the number of parallel path is equal to the number of poles, but in the wave binding number of parallel path is equal to 2 irrespective of the number of poles. And here in lap binding the current is distributed between the paths, but in wave binding the current is distributed between two paths only. Here the number of brushes in lap binding is equal to the number of poles, but in wave binding number of brushes are equal to 2. So, in lap binding is used for the machines where low voltage and high current ratings are required, but in wave binding the machines used for low current and high voltage ratings. Next, the dummy coils. So, dummy coils, it is used, dummy coils are used in simplex wave bindings. Sometimes the armature slots available in the armature do not match the requirements. That means the number of slots is more than the number of conductors. So, in that case dummy coils are used. So, these dummy coils are used to provide mechanical balance to the armature. So, these dummy coils are also called as dead coils. The dummy coils are inserted in the slots same as the armature conductors to give dynamically balanced, but it is not the part of the armature windings. So, this is all about the dummy coils. So, next the type of DC machines. So, DC machines are of, depending upon the excitations, DC machines are of two types, that is separately excited DC machines or second is self excited DC machines. Okay. So, first we will start separately excited DC generator. Separately excited, as the name suggests, separately excited means the field magnets of the separately excited DC generators are excited from an independent external source of DC current. So, here this field magnet, so this field winding is excited from the separate source. So, here the armature is flowing through the arrowhead direction. So, armature current IA is equal to IL, the field terminal voltage V is equal to Eg minus drop across the armature resistance, that is Eg minus Ia Ra. Second is electrical power developed, that is Eg into Ia, and next electrical power delivered to the load, that is Eg into Ia minus Ia square Ra, that is V into Ia. This is the power delivered to the load. So, next self excited DC generators. So, self excited DC generator means the field magnets of the self excited DC generators are energized by the current produced by the machine itself. So, this these self-excited DC generators are of three types: series generators, shunt generators and compound generators. So, first come to series generators. Series generators means in series generator the field windings is connected in series with the armature, and so the series field current is equal to our armature current, and this series field winding consists of few turns of thick wire. So, it has series field winding has low resistance which is less than 1 ohm, and the equation of the terminal voltage is equal to Eg minus drop across the series field winding and the armature winding, that is Eg minus Ia into Ra plus Ia into ISC, sorry RAC. Here Ia is equal to ISC and that is equal to IL. The power developed in the armature is Eg into Ia. So, the power delivered to the load is equal to V into IL. IL is your load current. Next, shunt generator. So, shunt generator, the field winding is connected across the armature forming a parallel path or shunt circuit. So, here the full voltage is appear across the shunt field winding. So, this shunt field winding or shunt field resistance is of many turns of fine or thin wire which has very high resistance, that is of order of 100 ohms. So, this shunt field current is equal to the voltage across the shunt field winding, that is equal to our terminal voltage, that is V divided by shunt field resistance, that is RSH. So, ISH is equal to V by RSH. Similarly, armature current, here by applying KCL at this node, IA is equal to ISH plus IL, that is incoming current is equal to sum of outgoing current. So, IA is equal to IL plus ISH. So, terminal voltage V, equation of terminal voltage V equal to Eg minus Ia into Ra, that is IaRa is equal to the drop in the armature resistance. So, power developed in the armature is equal to Eg into Ia. So, power delivered to the load, that is V into current through the load, that is V into IL. So, next coming to the compound generators. So, compound generators, in compound generators there are two field windings, series field winding and shunt field winding. Both field windings are present in the compound generators. So, if series field winding add the shunt field winding, then the compound generator is called cumulative compound generator. If the series field winding opposes the shunt field winding, then it is called differential compound generator. So, the compound generator can be short shunt compound generator or long shunt compound generator. So, this is the figure of short shunt compound generator, this is the long shunt compound generator. Okay. In long shunt compound generator, shunt field winding is parallel to both armature and series field winding, but in short shunt compound generator, shunt field winding is parallel with armature winding only. Here the figure, this is short shunt winding. The shunt field winding is parallel to only armature winding, but in long shunt figure, the shunt field winding is parallel to both series field winding and armature. So, here the equation of the shunt compound generator, the series field current ISC is equal to IL, that is equal to our load current, and the shunt field current, that is ISH, is equal to the voltage across the shunt field winding and divided by resistance of shunt field winding. So, voltage across the shunt field winding is V, that equal to our across the armature winding. So, that is V plus ISC into RAC divided by RSH. Similarly, armature current IA equal to ISH plus IL according to the by applying KCL at the node. Then terminal voltage V equal to Eg minus IaRa minus IaC RaC. Similarly, the power developed in the armature, that is Eg into Ia, and delivered to the load is equal to V into IL, that is voltage into current through the load, V into IL. Then the equation for long shunt, that is series field current ISC. So, ISC is equal to our armature current Ia, because armature current and series field current are connected in series. So, ISC is equal to Ia, that is equal to ISH plus IL. Similarly, shunt field current ISH equal to voltage across the shunt field winding, that is terminal voltage divided by shunt field resistance. So, the terminal voltage V equal to Eg minus Ra plus RaC, that is drop across the armature resistance and series field resistance. So, the power developed in the armature circuit is Eg into Ia, and the power delivered to the load is equal to V into IL. This is all about the types of DC generators. Thank you.